Here that obviously, like I had said, Uncle Rory has his niece Talina's ear on this, and that's probably why she's trying to nail Senator Joanne Brown to the cross. I mean, if there's something there, go for it. But whatever happened during Senator Joanne Brown's time at the port doesn't change what's happening today at the port. Anyway, I'm going to be watching. It's going to be a good hearing. Definitely going to be some fireworks. 904. I don't know if they have a permit for the fireworks. We'll find out. That's another FOIA probably. But let's get into the KUAM News Zoom room where I think he's the bearer of bad news this morning.
That's always a good way to start an interview.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah. Bye.
Hi.
just do whatever Sabrina told you on Friday.
I know. He was like, Simon. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. That's you. So from the CCU, Simon Sanchez.
Are we ready for another TED class on oil and power bills?
I saw what you sent me. I didn't understand it. So
ahead.
just go ahead. So first of all, we'll just start. There's an increase to the power bills. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, oil has gone from $30 a barrel a year ago to $52 a barrel, and you see it at the gas stations. You're seeing it globally, and we're not immune from it. As much as we all would wish we didn't have to put so much money into the gas we put into our autos, we're going to have to do the same thing with power. And the power bill has been historically lower in the past couple of years because oil has been historically lower, but the economy was doing well. There was no COVID. The timing of this is just horrible. But the problem is, if we don't have enough money to pay for the oil that we all consume and the energy that we use, then one day we're not going to be able to buy the oil. And imagine that interview with you and me, Sabrina and Chris, where I'm saying, hey, guess what? We're load shedding 20% of you today because we only have 80% of the fuel because we didn't pay for all of it. And I think as much as when we pull into the gas station and say, man, why am I paying $4 a gallon again? We still put the gas in because we got to do what we got to do. And that's the unfortunate situation. On a macro level, we are moving in the right direction with renewables. But in the meantime, we still have to use oil for our energy, and it's gone up. Last year, we passed on record lows. At 8 cents a kilowatt hour was the LEAC. That it hadn't been that low in almost 7-8 years. It's still lower than it was 2-3 years ago, but that doesn't help us when we got PUA and FPUC and 30,000 unemployed. So it's a very difficult situation, but we can't stick our head in the sand. We can't ignore it because that would create situations that people would be screaming about even worse if we didn't do it. So it's the unfortunate reality of our situation. Oil's gone up. The power bill will go up on the typical residential bill is about 14%, I think, or 11%. I apologize. I sent you some stuff. About 11%. So if you're paying it, I think the average residential bill, the average resident uses about 1,000 kilowatt hours, was paying $180 in December. Now they're going to pay $201, about a $21 increase in February for the typical bill. So, but $20 means a lot to people now, and it's just the worst timing. But there's things beyond our control, and like life, you just have to deal with what life gives you sometimes, even though it's not always the best situation. But yeah, that's the reality of it, and we kept it as low as we could for as long as we can, and we're even taking $15 million from our safety money, right? We have a self-insurance fund that we put $20 million in because, first off, we have typhoons. Second, no one will sell you insurance for your transmission and distribution system, the power lines. They'll sell you, we have insurance for the generators, which is why when those 2 generators blew up, we got $120 million. But no one insures transmission and distribution lines, which is why we have all the concrete poles. We've hardened 98% of our system has got concrete poles because no one will give us money when there's a typhoon. So we ratepayers put away $20 million and filled that fund maybe 2-3 years ago, and then we stopped that surcharge, and that was great. We had 20 million for a rainy day. Then we decided, the CCU, that it's sort of a bad rainy day now with what's going on. So we propose using half of that $20 million to pay for the shortage in money we have for fuel. And the PUC agreed, and we agreed to delay a $5 million worth of CIPs. That's $5 million we'll use to pay for oil. We'll catch up with those projects in future years, because GPA is always investing $10 to $15 million a year in capital improvements. We said, hey, this year we'll invest 10 million, take 5 million, help the ratepayers. So we ended up taking kind of money we save for other things to use to help us now to try to mitigate the reality that we all face when it comes to rising oil prices. Meanwhile, we're building 200 megs of solar farms. We're building a new generator that will use 1 million barrels of oil a year. So think about that at $60 a barrel. When that new generator is on, we're saving $60 million worth of oil. Whether it's $30 a barrel or $60 a barrel, $30 to $60 million a year in LEAC will be avoided because that new generator is so much more fuel efficient, and we're also adding renewables. But that's a journey. It's like losing weight or getting in shape. It doesn't happen after one workout. You got to stay with it. And we're working towards replacing Cabris 1 through 4. 3 and 4 are gone. We got 120 million for 3 and 4. And one of the blessings of that is we were going to retire Cabris 1 through 4 and get no money for it because they're really old. They're like me and John Beneventi. And they were very fuel inefficient, and they didn't handle renewables well. So we were going to just retire those after the new generator, and get no money for 40-year-old generators. Luckily, the insurance policy kicked in when we lost 3 and 4, and that gave us a $120 million windfall that we're using for ratepayers. In fact, last year we used it to pay for some of the LEAC as well. But we're saving a big chunk of that money to build the new generator. So that's we all have our little savings accounts in our families, I imagine, and that don't touch this and don't mix this, and we've kind of tried every trick we've had without putting at risk the ability of the Guam Power Authority to buy the oil that the people of Guam need for all the energy that they demand. And we're migrating in the right direction, but between now and then, difficult decisions like this emerge, and twice a year we look at it. Although last year, if you recall, we reduced the power bill 3 times last year because oil kept falling. So we pass it on as fast as we can save it, and unfortunately we do have to pass it on when it goes back up. And that's the decision, collective decision that was finalized last Thursday night. And your power bills that are being read as of today, February 1st, and on, as they read them, that higher rate will apply. So you'll see about a 11-12% increase in your typical power bill, in all your power bills, when you open that envelope and curse my name this month.
Yeah, can we talk about I think it was a condominium rate schedule?
Yes. That's good. That's very good. That's been a project, and I apologize to the condominium community. Chris Felix and brought this up about 20 years ago, and to look at it. And on the one hand, they're saying, well, because we're a house and a condo is a house and a single family unit is a house, they should be charged the same rate. But rates are designed by what it costs to serve you, right? And the physics of a single family house and the energy demands of a single family house are not always the same when you stick that same size of a house in a condominium. And about 25 condominiums are impacted, which surprised me because I thought we had a lot more condominiums on this old rate. And but it's only about 25 condominium complexes. And so we finally did a study. We did a cost of service study, and it looks like the average condo bill can come down about 8%. And so that also was approved last Thursday. It's a small adjustment. In fact, I think 23 condos benefit, 2 condos don't benefit, and 1 condo goes up. So we're kind of giving the condos an option. Which rate do you want, the old rate or the new rate? Because actually for a couple of them it goes up, and a couple of them it doesn't change. So, but that was also implemented. So there'll be some relief for condominium owners. We have a lot of apartments here, but many of them are wired in a way that the individual apartment renter goes and gets their individual power hookup because it's separate power meters into each apartment. But you take Alapang Cove or some of the nice condos on the that are on the Tumon Bay, and I chuckled. I heard people were kind of critical of us. I think Jason did an interview with the real estate pros, but They live in 2,500 square foot houses on the 8th, 10th floor of a condominium, and they're trying to say we consume the same power that a 1,000 square foot house in Ordot does, and it doesn't. And that's why
Oh, those poor condo owners.
Yeah, the rates were different, but it's been adjusted. But it wasn't what they thought they were being overcharged 50%, 70%. It's 8%, and we finally got to it, and we did a study, we verified it, and PUC agrees, and now we've made there's a new rate for condominiums, and they have the option to choose the old rate or the new rate, whichever benefits them, and it'll be a slight decrease in their bill. That also got it.
So that was approved by the PUC, or do they still need?
Yes,
okay.
we proposed. We did
Right.
a study. This is always how it works. We propose a rate or a rate change, and then they evaluate it and they make a decision. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't agree. And like last year, we all agreed to keep it low. And we should have raised the LEAC in August, but we said, hey, if you think it's bad now, we all remember what it was like back then. And so we held it, and we probably should have raised it. But because we didn't raise it, we have to raise it now. And if we didn't raise it now, the rate we'd be paying in August would be really high. And, so you have to kind of pick your poison, right? Pay me now, pay me later, right? But you're going to have to pay sooner or later. So we've kind of split the difference. We've used some of our set-aside funds. We've raised it a little bit. We're still going to be a little short come August, but we'll see what the oil markets do. But this was sort of the compromise of better than doing nothing, because that would become fiscally irresponsible at some point and really affect our ability to buy a tanker of oil, and then, you can't not buy gas for your engines, right? So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Have you had a chance to talk to Senator Rogel on any of his bills that he introduced?
No, not yet. And I'm trying to be kinder and gentler. I just think that, and I wish we would have more dialogue with him, but he seems to be, he has a perception of how solar energy should develop on Guam that is very different to what we think and what the PUC thinks. And, we've been the ones implementing solar energy since 2008 with Speaker Ben. I helped design the Ben with my classmate, my Pari, and he wanted us to be at 25% by 2035, and we're going to be at 50% by 2035. We're going to be at 25% after these new solar farms are built. And our new battery is being tested now. And those pesky 5-minute outages, we're going to eliminate about 80% of them after we finish this test, because this 40 megawatt battery will step in anytime a generator falls off, give us 30 minutes of power until we turn on some other generators. And all of our new solar projects also come with batteries. And that's one of the discussions with solar, with Senator Rogel that we just disagree with. Right now, 2,500 people use the grid for free, whereas you, me, Chris, the rest of us pay for the grid, right? And so we're in effect the battery for 2,500 solar customers that are connected to our system. They don't have to buy a battery. We provide it to them for free, and we want to change that, because that's not fair to you ratepayers. The rest of us that pay for the grid, we pay for the grid. Why don't they pay for the grid? They use it. And if they had to go buy a battery, they'd spend more money. And so, but Senator Rogel seems to want to keep giving away the grid, doesn't want us to upgrade the study on, we had already prepared to revisit this, what is a fair compensation for solar customers. And throughout the country, they're all moving from net metering, which is what we have. They're all moving from full compensation, because it's not fair to have a free grid when others are paying for the grid. And that's where we just disagree, and that we don't agree that you should give away the grid to some ratepayers while making other ratepayers pay for that grid. And we now can make solar energy with batteries between 9 and 11 cents a kilowatt hour with utility scale solar. That's the farms that are being built in Manila. Right now, we pay 2,500 people 22 cents a kilowatt hour, twice as much. Why would we pay 22 cents when we could make it our own for 11 cents? And that's another thing we don't agree with Senator Rogel, and yet his bills would in effect continue that practice. And that doesn't make sense to us and ratepayers. Why should ratepayers pay more for solar energy from other people when they can make it themselves at half the price? And so we'd love to get into a discussion with that. And this is what we said last term, and yet he introduced the same bill this term. And then, he said, let's get rid of the CCU and the PUC. I said, okay, well then who's going to set these rates? Who's going to set the LEAC? You want the legislature to set the LEAC? What is their background? What do they know? We have experts.
What do they know?
Well,
That's how
they
you
don't
got to
know
say
much
that,
about
Simon. You got to be like,
renewable energy.
what do they know?
Well, I mean, they've, I've been in the legislature. You create public policy to achieve outcomes. The public policy of our island when it comes to energy is to move to renewable energy responsibly and reliably. And that's what we're doing. And if you look around the world, you see countries and states saying, let's be 100% renewable. Not by 2025, they're saying 2045, 2050, because they realize it's going to take time to get the technology cheaper, especially batteries. Batteries are very expensive. You can make solar energy very competitively, very cheap. But at night, what are you making? You can't make anything. Batteries are not cheap. And when you put battery and solar together, it's very expensive. And if you do it, think of it this way. We can put 1,000 panels on 1,000 houses in League One Terrace, or we can put one big solar farm in Manilao and make it for half the price on a little island, which is the best way to do it. We think utility scale solar is so much cheaper for everybody, and not everyone can put a solar panel on their house. I don't have a solar panel on our house. The size of our roof isn't big enough to make the amount of power. Senator Rigel doesn't have a solar panel on his house, right? Because it doesn't necessarily fit. Maria and Chris, I'm assuming you don't have solar panels on your house. So when GPA is able to get you 11 cents a kilowatt hour solar power, we're doing something good for you, and you haven't had to put it on your house. And for the 1,000, there's 45,000 ratepayers. We only did like 70 solar installations last month. A few years ago, we were doing like 1,000. Last year. A few years ago, we were doing like 1,000. There's 45,000 residences out there. At 1,000 a year, it's going to take a long time to get every resident with a solar panel. Meanwhile, we can make utility scale solar now, and we're doing that now, and it's cheaper. So that way, the LEAC will be mitigated. These kinds of up and downs will be using less oil because of solar and less oil because of a more oil efficient, fuel efficient generator. And the emissions will be significantly lower because the oil we burn is cleaner, the new generator burns less of it, and we're using more solar. So it's that marriage of solar and conventional, and the migration from adding more solar and reducing conventional. But between now and then, you better have both, because you can't watch the lake now without electricity. And people want their electricity because they want their link.
Sai, I wanted to ask if you had a comment, because I think we got one from you on the OPA audit about the double pay with the utilities.
Well, I think there was some implication, and maybe I'm being overly sensitive. There was sort of an implication in the way I read the OPA's comments was he questioned whether we were following the law. And, the first rule for us is we don't break any laws, right? Our job is to follow the law. But this unusual, unprecedented, all the adjectives we've been using for the past year. Last March, there was a situation, the governor declared an emergency. He did not suspend the double pay portion of public law, and we had to cut a payroll. So our team went to the double pay, traditional pay structure when you have typhoons. And back last March, did anyone know we'd still be here a year later, wearing masks and doing all of this? Nobody knew. But so 2 weeks later, after the governor makes a call, calls the emergency, we have to pay payroll. We had to use some pay scale. So we used the double pay versus the governor's pay scale. And the governor, if I understand her logic right, because she's using federal funds, she could use a lower pay scale. But GPA and GWA didn't get any federal funding, or we just used ratepayer money. So we had to go with the Guam law. And we reached out to the AG, and we reached out to the Department of Administration, Mr. Byrne, but we never got a response last March. So we made the call, and even the OPA has asked the AG to opine. So everyone is wondering what is actually the right rule. We don't have anything definitive, but I just wanted to make it clear that we executed the law we believe applied at the time, and no one has told us it doesn't apply. The OPA is questioning whether we made the right decision, but even he's asking the AG for an opinion. So at this point, it's uncertain what is the right decision. And even when the AG gives you an opinion, and you always have to remember that he's just yet another attorney making an opinion. Right. Until the court rules, you don't have that final say. So we all had to speculate as to what was the proper way to interpret the law. We did it, and we lasted for a month, and then we stopped it. But the audit, the OPA did his job. He said he was gonna do an audit. and he did, and that was his conclusion. We just want to make sure that, as far as we understand, and we've asked John B. and Miguel to present to us at the next month's meeting their full review, and they did respond to the OPA in writing, and we just want to, at the CCU level, revisit it and make sure our team did what they were supposed to do under the law. And if they didn't, then we would hold someone accountable. But we just want to make sure that we believe we followed the law. As far as everything I've seen from Miguel and John B., they believe we followed the law. OPA wants the AG to tell us if we followed the law, so even he's not quite sure whether we did or didn't. and that's sort of where we sit. But,
Right
OPA is doing his job.
Right on.
Any new developments with the Badger lawsuit? Badger meters?
No, nothing that we
Okay.
can share with you. I imagine that's going to go on for some time. But it's now good thing. Senator Gill's introduced the bill to get rid of back billing again. So when it gets to back billing, GPA almost has a non-issue with back billing, and in fact, it's become so sophisticated now that there's a bot. I had to learn this new word, right, in the 21st century. There's a bot that reads your meters every 15 minutes to make sure it's working. But because GPA is tied in with smart grid connected directly to your house, we can catch a bad meter right away. So back billing at GPA is basically non-existent. On GWA side, over the last decade, we've back billed and collected about $7 million. Now that's $7 million that isn't paid for by other ratepayers, because the huge difference we have with Senator Rogel is the people still got the water. It wasn't like we would know if they didn't have water. They'd be calling us every day. But when they get water and then their bill comes in and says $0 or $10 when they know their bill should be $100, we know there's a problem with the meter, and meters are going to fail. Where I disagree with Senator Rogel is he seems to think that nothing mechanical should ever fail. I mean, it's like saying if your car fails 3 years after you buy it, you can go back to the car dealer and say, hey, it failed. You need to give me a new car, or you need to fix it for free. Well, they're going to fail, and back billing is the standard practice throughout good utilities. They recognize that it's not fair for you to receive water but not pay for it. But you have to create a system, and all back billing does is we put in a new meter, we take an average for 2 months, and we back bill you, and we can't go back more than 4 months. We can't wait 10 years, we can't wait 12 months. So that those incentives are designed, and we modeled it after California utilities, and they still have back billing. So we would disagree that just because a meter fails, you should get free water and Chris, Sabrina, and Simon should pay for it. We think, no, let's estimate what a reasonable estimate of your use and pay for it. And as a result, $7 million has been collected from people that actually received water, and that's $7 million that wasn't raised in rates to the rest of us. And that's why we have back billing. So we would disagree with Senator Rogel that you should have free water just because if you win the broken meter lottery, you get free water and everyone else pays for it. And that's one way to do it, but we don't think it's the most fair way to do it. Was that kinder and gentler?
That was nice. Yeah, that's sweet. You good, Bree?
Yeah, the
Okay.
broken meter lottery.
Yeah, I want to go break my meter now if it means I'm going to get free power and water.
Well, exactly. I mean, in fact, exactly. If you had no back billing, people would just go bust their meter. People would park their cars over the meter. People would put their doghouse next to the meter. You couldn't read it. I mean, there's crazy. Humans are funny people, as we all know. As we listen to you every day. Right? We're wondering about why we're investigating some senators and not other senators. Well, okay. It's just the way it works, right?
That's how it is, politics. Thanks, Si.
Humans are funny people.
You're getting off topic. I don't want you to get in trouble. We already got one guy in the doghouse this morning.
That's okay. I'm used to being yelled at. That's why I have no hair in the front part of my thick forehead.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simon.
My name is, for 20 years, my name has actually been that damn Simon Sanchez. 50,000 people open their bill. I got 100,000. There's 2 bills a month
Right.
from Power and Water. I know it. They go, that damn Simon Sanchez.
God, donuts.
But they keep sending me back to office, so I guess they can tolerate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
All right, you guys take care. Have a great week. We look
Best
forward
stuff.
to you
Okay.
covering it for us.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.